We all know about the negative impacts of social media, particularly on children and teens. The research is clear, it has been for years. And of course, the federal government and various state governments are planning to introduce age limits. But can we not get too ridiculous about this stuff? You've now got some mental health advocates are saying that a tax should be imposed on social media companies like the excise on tobacco. Now, they argue that the funds raised from taxing social media companies could then be used to fund mental health care to help people cope with some of the issues being caused by these platforms. The executive director of the Black Dog Institute, for instance, says if we look at various public health problems, once we understood that cigarettes imposed on our health system, we imposed a tax on cigarette companies to pay for that. OK, I get where they're going, Evelyn, but I think there's a link missing in the middle here. We have a massive mental health problem in this country and across the rest of the Western world at the moment. Social media exacerbates that, but it's not the cause of it. You know, I think they discredit the cause by saying, well, we should have a tobacco-style tax on social media companies for the damage they have caused. Please.
Yeah, look, the government will always find a reason to take people's money. And this is absolutely no different. And, you know, this is the inevitable consequence of asking the government to look after our health for us. You know, they feel like they have the responsibility. We have given them the responsibility. So they, you know, they can pull these ones on us and go, well, you know, we are in charge of your health. We have a public health system, therefore A, B, C, and D. But something like this, and even suggesting something like this, is such an absurd precedent that it would set. I mean, what about, you know, my next door neighbour or, you know, the person down the road who feeds their kids too many cheeseburgers or lets them have too much time on an iPad? Sure, I think those things are bad, but imagine the precedent. Like, where does it end when you ask or invite the government to take your personal responsibility? Like, the possibilities are endless. And I don't buy for a second that these people care about children's health. I don't think that our health system really does. I mean, look at what they're doing around children and transgenderism. I mean, that should in itself go, they obviously don't really care about health. Look about what they did to the Australian public during COVID. Clearly, they don't care about our health. They locked us up for almost a year in total. We weren't allowed to exercise. We weren't allowed to do, you know, all these things.
You want to talk about mental health. I mean, you look at the stats, particularly on kids after
I know.
COVID,
There was a 5-year-old in Victoria who called the suicide helpline, like a 5-year-old. Like, that's absurd, and I don't even know how a 5-year-old could do that, but that's beside the point. The fact that that's even happening in our country is nuts. But, you know, I think we've known the dangers of junk food for such a long time. We've known the dangers of the internet for such a long time. Why are we all of a sudden in the hot topic of children in harm on the internet, social media? Now we're going to tax. There is such a hot topic at the moment, and it's all coming at the same time. The misinformation, disinformation bills coming out. It's all coming when they're trying to ban kids from, you know, accessing social media. I think it actually has nothing to do with the kids, and I think the government are using this as an opportunity, as a pretext to introduce digital identity, to introduce control, to invade further into our privacy.
There's definitely one time, but
we're only just discovering how.
This discredits the argument, doesn't it, Joe? Like, come on, a tax on social media companies. There is a legitimate discussion to be had about the damage caused by social media to children.
Yes.
But it's getting
it's getting to the point where it's almost beyond an argument. I mean, we know now, we're only just realising the harm that social media is having on kids. We are seeing where there has been a phone ban, the first ever phone ban in schools, where it has had a massive impact on students' well-being. There's been cuts to bullying, an increase in outdoor play, all the stuff that everyone on this panel should love. So I don't think that's beyond it.
We know that about junk food at McDonald's.
That's
too.
right.
We're going to start legislating that.
Well, they want tax.
But they do. That's right. The same people often will say, well, we should have a tax on sugary drinks, and we should have a tax on junk food.
It's a very slippery slope.
The difference is you can at least put a tax on a product that someone is paying money for. I don't understand how you tax a platform that people are using for free unless you're having a differing rate of corporate company tax for social media companies and that. And then do you have a sort of you know, do you have a sort of like a healthy food pyramid of, you know, with Elon Musk's X up here and it pays 35 cents in the dollar, and Facebook's pretty bad but not quite as bad.
LinkedIn's down the very bottom.
That's right.
I'd put
Instagram. Okay, so I like what I like what this person's saying. I don't think he's wrong about it being incredibly harmful, and it's very clear. And I've done work.
But I think there's a huge difference between raising awareness of that and promoting and educating people on the dangers of social media. It's very different to then legislating it and entering people's homes and parenting.
But let's be clear, this isn't the government proposing this. This is a...
But the government will get involved. How else do they police this?
This is the Black Dog Institute. This is an independent research mental health body that's doing this. And, you know, as someone that used to write op-eds, and Caleb can appreciate this, someone that writes op-eds, half of the issue and half of the challenge is to get people talking about the problem. And in that case, this is a great op-ed because we're all sitting here, you know, talking about should we have a tax, should we not? Of course, Joe's absolutely right, you're absolutely right. Of course we're not going to have a tax on this tomorrow. How do you levy it? Who pays it? Where does it go? I mean,
it's a pretext, though, for legislating banning children and entering the parenting spectrum.
Sure, but
it's very dangerous.
But if we want to have a conversation about that, let's have a conversation about that. And, you know, I think that's a healthy debate. Like the New South Wales government's about to have a social media summit in a couple of weeks or months where that very issue will be talked about. But let's have that conversation. I'm fine to have that conversation if we want to talk about it.
The problem is...
I think kids should be restricted in their access to social media.
But that should come from parents. It shouldn't come from the government. And I think governments always tend to grow. Look at a history book. Governments always grow. They take more than they ever give back. And we keep giving government these responsibilities. And if we're having these conversations, we have to be able to read through the fine print. And the fine print here is like coming across, we're doing this to prevent harm. We're doing this to protect the children. When that's a farce. That's total crap. It's government getting control.
It's the same tax. I mean, once you levy a tax, you're never going to take it away. But I'm interested because you do research in terms of AI, Natalia, and you would come across data and whatever, I assume, that relates to children and technology, etc. What's your reading of all of this?
My reading is that government is way behind on what's going on with social media use, and they completely miss the fundamental intergenerational change on how children and young adults consume news, media, and entertainment. So 38% of millennials actually read and get the news from TikTok, Instagram, you name it, not even the online version of newspaper. So you cannot just ban it or tax it because it's part of their lives. While boomers are sitting there thinking, we regulate it. Sorry, are you a boomer?
No, how dare you? How dare you? I thought we were both laughing at boomers together.
Hang on, you might have to move a bit further this way.
I'm Generation X, so we're the generation that does everything and doesn't complain.
You might have buggered a few things up as well.
It's all fine. You just
where you were. Go on.
And they don't see, they still go and watch TV. They regulated the television very well, and they sit quietly and peacefully thinking that's all done. No, those regulations should be there. It shouldn't be a ban or a tax. We should compare this classification we have on TV about the gender, the age, the time, the whatever, when you're allowed to watch what at what age.
Which is an advisory system as opposed to an actual ban.
I'm not sure, I don't understand why that's not implemented in the social media space, because that's exactly how young kids, actually 16 to 24-year-olds, well, you're a bit older.
I've surpassed that.
Half of them use internet to get the TikToks and Instagrams to get their news. And what are we trying to achieve here? I don't know, to cut them off completely from all.
I think that they are.
It's a little bit scary in and of itself that that's the only place they get their news from.